Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Perfect Pairings with Jaycee. Did you know pansies are a meaningful yet versatile symbol you can incorporate into your autumn theme cards? In this card making tutorial, I'll share clever ways to layer pansies, along with tips for color combinations that capture the rich, warm hues of fall. I'm going to start with a very simple background. This is Altenews Essential Textures Fine Wood Grain Press Plate. What I love about the Essential Textures Fine Wood Grain Press Plate is that this press plate is actually 5x7. So for those of you who like to make larger format cards, this is perfect for you. You can fill an entire background with this press plate. And there are so many color possibilities that you can use with Altenews Crafters Essential Cardstocks, as well as the Fresh Dye Ink sets. So that's exactly what I'm going to do with this card is I'm going to grab a panel of Misty Moor Crafters Essential Cardstock. And I love this cooler yellow-green for this autumn theme card. I think this will set a really nice foundation and tone for the remainder of the colors that I put on top of this. So after setting up my BetterPress plate by putting the A2 sized Misty Moor panel onto my magnetic chase, then picking up this panel with the platen, I can add the A7 sized press plate to my magnetic chase. And instead of applying dry texture onto my Misty Moor cardstock, I'll use Marshland Fresh Dye Ink. This is from the same Nature's Wonders Fresh Dye Ink family as the Misty Moor cardstock. So I'm just moving down the next value of ink for a wonderful tone-on-tone effect. Then after running this through my Spellbinders die cutting machine, I'm left with this gorgeous ink application, as well as a little slight texture from the press plate. So that's how easy it was to create my background. I'll set my background panel aside and grab another panel of the Misty Moor Crafters Essential Cardstock. I love when my foreground elements match the background, especially for dies that have an offset margin, so that there isn't a stark white outline along the outside of my die cut. I just think it seems to merge a lot better. But anyway, I'm grabbing Build-A-Garden Fanciful Pansies outline stamp set, its coordinating die set, and the layering stencil set. This is what comes together in the September Build-A-Garden subscription. And what I'm going to start with first is the Fanciful Pansies die set. Over the years, I've learned that die cutting the shape that the outline stamp coordinates with first, and then stamping on top of the die cut seems to work a little bit better for me than doing the opposite. So stamping this larger pansy cluster and then die cutting it with the coordinating die, either way has worked, but I find that this is working a little bit better for me to getting that perfect alignment with the coordinating stamp. So once I have this pansy cluster die cut, I'll return both the positive and negative piece into my original stamp wheel. This is the 9x9 size. In my stamp wheel, I have my black SlimGrip mat just to hold everything together. And first I'll inlay the negative space, and then inside of that I'll inlay the positive piece. And then it takes a little bit of maneuvering as per usual to get the outline stamp perfectly centered within the die cut shape. And then once I feel I've got the perfect position for the stamp, I'll pick it up with the flip plate and then condition the surface of the stamp with the StamPerfect Stamp Conditioner. And then moving down the line of inks to the darkest value in Nature's Wonders, I'll use Mangrove Root to ink up and stamp the outline to this pansy cluster. I think it's fun to use an outline ink instead of black sometimes just to see what kind of result you'll get. I think it really sets a nice tone for some of these clusters instead of always using like a black outline. Then once I've got a crisp impression of the Fanciful Pansies outline, while this is in my stamp wheel, I'll just go ahead and stamp my sentiment. I picked the Sending Love and Sunshine sentiment, and I also stamped that in Mangrove Roots. And this is just so I can get maximum use of this cardstock panel. I can remove both the positive and negative pieces from my stamp wheel and then bring in my 9x12 sticky mat grid, and now I can start coloring on top of the outline. I'll position the Fanciful Pansies cluster right on the center of my 9x12 sticky mat grid and simply follow the layering instructions found in the stencil set. So I'll start with stencil number 1. Both layers of the image number 1 and number 2 are on stencil layer number 1. I'll use a little bit of satin masking tape just to mask off these open areas that I don't want to apply ink to yet. I removed a lot of the tack of the satin masking tape by rubbing it on the back of my hand before applying the tape to the stencil and covering up those open areas like I mentioned. I had to cut out this footage with the ink I used for some reason, but anyway, I colored this with Lavender Fields Fresh Dye Ink. That's from the shades of purple. I just felt like I wanted a cooler purple for this first layer. So that's what I colored with the first layer of the #1 stencil. And then to color in the second layer of this first stencil, all you have to do is pick it up and rotate it 180 degrees. Then again, I grabbed another cooler, more purple. This is Grape Agate from Sugarplums Fresh Dye Ink set. And on the second layer for these Fanciful Pansies, I'll use another mini ink blending tool and completely fill in and saturate this open layer of the stencil. And I love the drama and contrast already on both layers of these petals. So then moving on, stencil layer number 2 has the solid fill of the majority of the leaves in Fanciful Pansies. And to stick with the cooler theme that I have going on this card, I used Misty Sage Fresh Dye Ink. Misty Sage is from Jade Dreams Fresh Dye Ink set. And I'll just completely fill in this layer right on top of the outline. Then I'll just move down the line of inks in Jade Dreams. So on stencil layer number 3 is the next detail layer for the leaves. I'll use Mossy Meadow and another mini ink blending tool to fill in this layer. And then finally on stencil layer number 4 is the last detail layer of the pansy petals and also the last detail layer of the leaves. So I'll use the same satin masking tape that I've been using throughout this card, and I reused it to mask off the petals first. And then I'll ink up the detail layer of the leaves with Green Opal Fresh Dye Ink from Jade Dreams. And then to deepen the petals of the pansies, I used Acai Berry. I wanted a more true, colder purple, so that's from Dried Petals Fresh Dye Ink set. One of the things I like to do when formulating these autumn-themed color palettes is to really think about jewel tones. Autumn is the time for the leaves to change, and like spring, you just get a really nice, colorful array of palettes during this time of year. So that's essentially what I picked from, was a more jewel tone palette. I was thinking of like purple agate, amethyst, jade, and I think these colors are just more suitable for this time of year. So anyway, that's my focal element done for this card. So now I can remove this from my sticky mat grid and then basically start assembling this card. Off camera, I went ahead and die cut 2 more layers of the sentiment as well as the sentiment itself, so 3 layers total. And the first thing I'm going to do is glue and stack all of these elements together. And I still had room on the negative die cut piece that I stamped on for the sentiment, so I just went ahead and used the scraps before discarding it. I just think it's a great way to save on your resources. Then after applying my fine wood grain BetterPress background to a folded note card base, I'll use the 1/8 by 1/2 instant dimension foam tape. I just really like the thicker version of this foam tape. I think it adds a lot of contrast and height to the card. And I'll use pieces of this to adhere onto the back of my pansy cluster and then bring that foam mounted stenciled image to my background. Now, before I foam mount my sentiment on top, I just want to add a little bit of shine to this card and something that mirrors and reflects on the sentiment in this card. So I'll use my 14 metallic watercolor pan set, and this time I'm grabbing gold pearl, again thinking about jewel tones, gold veining that you typically find in some gemstones, polished stones. And I'll just add an array of splatter of this on top. I just think it's really subtle, but also just a nice element of texture for your card front. And then once that dries, then I'll foam mount my sentiment, my Sending Love and Sunshine sentiment. I didn't show it, but I used the thin 1/4 inch by 1/8 inch thick foam tape just so that it was twice as high as my pansy cluster. And then around this sentiment, I'll use the Altenew Stellar Sequence. This is Champagne. I thought Champagne and Gold Pearl Metallic Watercolor were a close enough match. So I used a liquid adhesive and my Crafty picker tool from Altenew. The wax tip is so easy. It's so easy to pick up the sequins using the wax tip and then adhering everything down with the micro tip tweezers, just for seamless, perfect placement for all of these small details. And then once I feel like I've embellished this card enough, that finishes this autumn themed card using some simple color tricks to help set the mood. Pansies are great for autumn cards as a form of remembrance or to show someone you're thinking of them. Pansies stem from the French word penser, P-E-N-S-E with an acute accent and another E, meaning thoughtful, or the infinite verb penser, P-E-N-S-E-R, which means to think. So next time you're crafting with Altenew's pansy flowers, I hope that you play into this powerful and versatile meaning of the flower.